Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to give you my November wrap up. I know this is a few days early, but I really don't anticipate reading any more books in November as Thanksgiving just wrapped up and I'm going into the end of my busy time at work. So I'm probably going to take a few days off from reading, so I figured I'd go ahead and give you this wrap up so then you could see what all I read, my thoughts and feelings on those, in case if you wanted to pick up any of these, to read or for the holiday season. So the first book that I had finished this month is the big one, which is The Day of Fallen Knights by Samantha Shannon. So on here, this book was an arc given to me. It is a prequel to the Priory of the Orange Tree that had came out. And this book kind of goes into what happened before the events of the Priory of the Orange Tree, how things led up to, the events and what our main characters are going through in that book. This book was very good. It's a big book, so the world building on it was very slow paced for me, where I felt like we spent 20 or 30 pages on, one little section of what the world is like or what our characters are going through, and I felt like it could have been toned down a little bit, maybe shaved about 200 or 300 pages off of this book, because I felt like there was a lot of fluff in there, things that didn't need to be in there. But this book was really good. I enjoyed going on the journey with the characters in here, learning about the world some more, understanding why things in the Priory of the Orange Tree had occurred and happened, why our characters are going through that. I don't want to give any spoilers away. That's why I'm being very vague on my review, because if you haven't read Priory of the Orange Tree and you want to get into the world, I suggest reading this first. I know that it came out second, but it's going to give you more depth and more perspective. It's going to let you, get your mindset around how the world works, understand why the characters in the Priory of the Orange Tree act the way they do, why the world is the way that it is. If you have already read Priory of the Orange Tree, you may want to pick this up. I feel like this book, even though it was amazing, you have to really love the Priory of the Orange Tree, because in that book, it is very slow paced. There's a lot of world building and there's a lot of things the characters go through that they don't need to go through. I felt like the pacing was very off in that book, and it is also a big thick book as well. This book, you would have to really like it, because this goes into more of the world, this goes into more of the politics, this goes into more of how things got to where they were. So I really enjoyed this book, but you would probably, to dive into a 900-page book, you would have to really love the world if you've already read The Priory of the Orange Tree. If you haven't, this is a great fantasy. This is a great sapphic romance. It is a great everything. So if you really want a big, fantasy book to really dive yourself into, if you're into a lot of the questing and a lot of the politics, definitely pick this book up. I definitely gave this 3 stars. I had a good time, but I didn't feel like it was Priory of the Orange Tree level. I don't feel like it gave me the wow factor like I had when I first found this world. So I had a good time. It comes out in February. Definitely pick this book up if you are interested in any fantasy novels this winter. The next string of books, I'm not going to go into a huge review on them because I have already done that. I'm going to link it in the cards above. But I read 20 Kindle Unlimited books, and I let you know which ones are worth it. I still have my little cheat sheet here because I went through these books in a matter of 3 weeks, and they started melding together. They started getting to where I was forgetting plot. I was all these things, because there were quite a few of these that weren't amazing. They were okay. I enjoyed my time while reading them. I thought they were, a fun read, but whenever I got done with them, they didn't leave a lasting impact on me. There are a few in here that did, but the majority of them are ones that either I DNF'd or I gave like 2 or 3 stars to. So we're just going to dive right into that. I'm going to let you know which books I had read, but definitely check out that video that I had linked above in the cards, because it goes more in depth about what the books are about, why I gave them the stars that I did. So it was definitely worth the read. So the first one is The Broken and Sinned, and that is by G. Bailey. This book was the first one that I had read, and I gave it 2.5 stars. I had an okay time reading this. However, the pacing was off. I felt like it was too YA. I felt like that it could have been more, towards the new adult era to make it better. But just the way the characters acted, the way they talked, it was very YA to me. And there's nothing wrong with that. But whenever I'm going into a reverse harem, thinking, oh, this is going to be, smutty, this is going to be, sexy and all of these things. And then you get the characters acting, very young. It just didn't work well for me. So it is an urban fantasy, and it is has vampires. It does have the slow burn trope. It does have enemies to lovers. So those things that you might like. It is a decent series. I feel like there are going to be readers that watch this video that will enjoy that book. It just didn't do it for me. So the next one that I had was Kiss the Fae by Natalia Jaster. This one I was very excited about because of the cover. I'm one of those people that like to look at covers. That's what draws me in. And I was very excited. However, I did give this one 3.5 stars. It was more than just okay for me. I really enjoyed the romance in here. I thought that the romance was done very, very well around our characters. So if you want a good Fae romance, if you want a good slow burn, steamy, more on the adult side, definitely pick this one up. It was actually pretty good. I think I'm going to continue on with this one just to kind of see how things play out. The next one was an Enchantment of Thorns by Helena Rookwood. So this one is a Beauty and the Beast retelling where you're in this town and basically you have the Folkwood and you have our main character who is like a med witch, a medicine witch. She's not really a witch, but she does things with herbs to keep people alive. And so she keeps the Folkwood back. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars. I felt like it was very enchanting. I felt like it was very whimsical and very on the nose. It is a standalone, so if you want to read that, it's definitely worth it. But I'm a big sucker for Beauty and the Beast retellings, and this one just hit all of the marks for me. I do not think that it was an outstanding read, like where I love Sarah J. Maas or, other authors that are along those lines, like Rebecca Garcia and Nicole Wells, people that I instantly pick up. But I definitely feel like this was in probably my top 20 of the year. I absolutely loved this book. So if you want a good Beauty and the Beast retelling, pick up an Enchantment of Thorns. The next one was The Magic Trials by Meg Zumi. I don't know how you say that, Zumi. But this one was a reverse harem paranormal romance. I did give it 3 stars. It was okay. It's where our main character goes to this school, and she basically, the world is divided into 2. You have the 4 demigods on one side, and then you have like Hades or Satan or whatever on the other side. And she goes to a school that is for angel blood, and she doesn't have angel blood, but she's in these trials. And so you follow her, and basically the 4 demigods are like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And it was okay. I really enjoyed it. I liked, the concept. I liked the world and stuff like that. I just feel like some books that are based off of like academia vibes and things like that are kind of hit or miss for me, because sometimes they can be too YA, sometimes they can just not hit the mark. This one was okay. I don't think I'm going to continue on with it, but you may like it because it deals with, the gods, it deals with angels, it deals with, a lot of like things in mythology and folklore that are around that. So definitely pick it up if you are into something like that. The next one was A Secret in Onyx by Jessica Florence. This is a dystopian fae fantasy romance where basically our main character is with this guy. What is his name? I can't even remember the main. Well, he's not even the main male character, but Tor. Tor and Saphira are together, and basically as they're going through this dystopian world, they are trying to make it to a certain section to get safe and all of these things. He gets taken, so she's going to do everything she can to get him back. She ends up going to this place that he told her to go to, and ends up being around the Fae. And she ends up training with Rune, who is one of the Fae there, and their banter was honestly on par, and I absolutely loved it. It is enemies to lovers. She does not like the Fae, but she's willing to, put that aside to get Tor back. And, just Rune had this alpha, brooding, type of personality that you just wanted to get behind, and I absolutely loved it. Their banter, like I said, is just on par. They can't stay away from each other no matter how hard they try. So this was a really good romance. I did give it 3.5 stars. I didn't know if I mentioned that or not. It is worth it. I am going to continue on with this series. So if you like dystopians, if you like fae romances, if you like, where she's in love with one, but then her heart's tugging on another type of trope, pick this book up. I loved it. The next one was a big letdown for me, and it was A Veil of Truth and Trickery by Annalee Ford. So this book was a reverse harem fae fantasy romance. I did end up giving it 2 stars. I don't even think that I even finished this book. I can't even remember at this point, but this book really didn't do it for me. I saw this hyped up all over like my Facebook ads where it, talks about this, and I would read the comments on what people were saying on liking them. And then, I would see it everywhere and people talking about it. So I was like, I need to read this book. And it just didn't hit for me at all. So if you do like fae fantasy romances, you may like A Veil of Truth and Trickery. I just don't feel like the politics and everything else led or, held up to what other books are in the same genre. So you may like it, so pick it up. Magic of the Demon Fae by Ava Mason. This book I struggled with. It says I gave it 1.5 stars. I don't even know if I finished it. Let's be very honest with you. It is a paranormal reverse harem. It does have a lot of spice to it. This book is kind of like, I would probably say, The Bonds That Tie by Jay Bree, but not as good and not as, consensual, if you will. So, our main character is being followed by these 4 or 5 men who are demons, and basically they want her, and they take her back to hell and all of these things, and I just didn't feel the romance. I just felt like it was, they saw her, they wanted her, they kidnapped her, and then, all of a sudden now she's in love with him. So it didn't do anything for me. It was just straight sex on a page for me. If you're into that, you may want to give it a try. So the next one is a big DNF. I cannot even believe that I even picked this book up, but it is Cursed Vampire by Brogan Thomas. This cover made me want to read it. I was just like, there's a cat, a girl with rainbow hair. It said that she's a half vampire unicorn hybrid type thing. So I was all in. I was like, all right, this is a new take on everything. And so I put it on my Kindle Unlimited. It sat forever. I finally picked it up. Maybe if I would have read it at the time that I was really into wanting to read it, I might have had a better enjoyment. But nonetheless, this was definitely a big DNF. I, just couldn't get into this book. I got like a quarter of a third of the way, something like that in, and I was just like, I'm done. This is absolutely ridiculous. So if you're into an urban fantasy that deals with unicorns and vampires and all of these magical creatures, and you just want like a fun book, you may like this. It did not do anything for me at all. The next book is Curse of Shadow and Thorns by L.J. Andrews. This book is a fantasy romance and it has very high stakes involved in it. I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely loved it. The world building in this was really good. I felt like I could immerse myself into it. The politics were absolutely on par with everything. There is a lot of forbidden romance. There is, basically she doesn't want to be royalty, and so this coup happens. She needs to flee. She ends up with this guy named Legion, and he is supposed to be like matchmaking her with whoever her chosen one will be, like an arranged marriage. And then all of a sudden it's because her family had overtaken the throne, and now there's this coup going on, and she fled and she's in the countryside, and now Legion, there's a lot to his past, there's a lot to him, so a lot of mysterious vibes going on. What does he have to do with all of this? So if you like that, if you like the mystery vibes, if you like the whole a girl not wanting to be in royalty, but then she comes into her own and she actually tries to take on things and do the right thing for the people of the land, you might really like this one. The next one was another 4-star for me. It's called Fate Calling by Lindsay Grace. This book is a Fae fantasy romance as well. It is another loose Beauty and the Beast retelling. That's one of my favorite retellings, to read about. But this one, it's in the Highlands of Scotland, and it's where her sister, goes missing or whatever, and she stumbles across the Fae, and she ends up enlisting their help to get, her sister back. The world was great. The romance was absolutely beautiful. I loved it. I will be continuing on with that book. The next book was another letdown for me, and it is called Legacy by Jessica Sundin. This was a very different type of book for me. It was a dystopian sci-fi fantasy romance. It had a lot going on with it, and it's about our girl, take The Village by M.K. Shyamalan, where, they're in this village in this woods and they can't go into the woods, right? But then on the other side of the woods, at the end of the movie, you find out, spoiler alert, that it's the modern world, right? And so they've been living in this, created kind of atmosphere from the Middle Ages or whatever, and they're told that there's a beast that lives in the woods and all of this stuff. That is exactly what Legacy is. They live in this biodome, and it is this created and manufactured medieval town. They are told that if they leave the dome that they would die and all of these things. So they're being watched, they're being studied, seeing how, people would have lived back then. But then you have our main character who comes in. He is not supposed to be in there, but he is. And, there's a lot going on with it. I stopped at this point because I couldn't wrap my head around the politics and the world. There was a lot going on. I got confused. I just wasn't into it. But if you like something like that, this might be a book to pick up. I didn't finish it, so I can't tell you if it's a great book or if it's something that progressively gets worse or better. But you may like it if you like the dystopian world, if you like the whole sci-fi fantasy romance type, genre. You might like this. So you may want to check it out. The next one is called Forbidden Obsession by J.A. Owenby. This one is a college bully romance, kind of like a stepbrother romance trope. And it is about, the two characters being in college. He finds like a sex tape that she had done, and so he is using that as blackmail to get basically whatever he wants out of it. And he's making her do all of these things, but what he doesn't understand is she isn't just somebody to take things lying down. So she's doing this, biding her time until she can strike. And it was a really good romance in a way. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't anything out of the park, type of greatness, but it kept me interested. I enjoyed it. If you definitely like bully romances and you like the stepbrother trope, this book will definitely be one that you want to pick up. Check trigger warnings on the book because it does get very dark. The next one was a huge hit for me, and it's called Daughter of Summer by Victoria Williams. This one is a fantasy romance, a fae fantasy romance, and I loved it. I didn't think that I would because there wasn't very many reviews on it. Not a lot of people, had read it. So I went into this thinking it's going to be like another, cursed vampire type book, right? So I went in and it was actually really good. It's about how our female main character, she basically is raised up knowing that she's going to be marrying the king of this other place. He's an immortal. And basically, whenever he goes to get her, he doesn't want her to be scared of him. So he poses as one of those, I don't even know what they're called. Did I even write that down? No. But he poses as one of those, like, entourage people or political people that go to like retrieve them and take them back to the world. So he poses as one of them. He gets close to her, gets to know her, but she's falling in love with him, and she shouldn't be because she is betrothed to the king, and he doesn't want to tell her the truth because he's scared. So she locks away her secrets with one of the witches there that put it underneath like a lock and key basically. And it was a very unique story. I loved it. I definitely will be continuing on with the series. I didn't realize how good it was going to be. I did give it 4 stars, or maybe 5 stars actually. It was that good. So if you like books like that, definitely pick it up. The next one is Prince of the Dark Fae by Lindsay Devon. This one, I don't even know if I finished. To be honest, I don't even have a rating here, so I probably DNF'd it. It's been quite a few weeks since I've actually read these books, so that's why I have to have my little cheat sheet here. But on this, it is a fae fantasy romance. It is a standalone. If you like the Married to Magic series, I don't even remember what her name is. But anyway, if you like the Married to Magic series, my brain is gone today. Like, Thanksgiving happened, and it's like mush. But basically, it follows kind of the same lines, a little bit of structure, where a girl is taken from an area. She is taken to the Fae realm, the Dark Fae's kingdom, or whatever, and she ends up falling in love with him out of the odds, despite the odds, of everything. So I don't think I finished it. It really didn't do a whole lot for me. I couldn't get into it at all. So if you like that series, you may end up liking this book. The next one is The Loft and the Chosen by Ivy Asher. This book was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I can't wait to continue on with it. It is a paranormal reverse harem, and it is about a girl who has these abilities or whatever, and she's starting to get like all of these markings on her, and she doesn't know why. She's a really good fighter. She can wield weapons and stuff. So all of a sudden, these boys step in. They don't want her to get what she needs, and basically, as you're going through this bullying and, this progression of the story, she starts finding that she's going to lose her heart if she continues. And so The romance was good. Ivy Asher is on par with this. I think I gave it 5 stars. Or 4 stars at the lowest rating. Definitely pick this book up. I love this series. I cannot wait to continue on with this one. The next one is Bound to the Dark Elf King by Jessica Grayson. I gave this one 3 stars. It was okay. It was better than Prince of the Dark Fae, but it does follow the same lines, the same structure as the Married to Magic series. Again, it is a standalone. However, this one was a little bit more believable, one that I could kind of get behind. So definitely pick it up if you really like that series, if you like standalones, if you like happily ever afters and, you know, a girl going into the Fae realm and ended up loving this guy and changing their whole view system. It was pretty good. I gave it 3 stars. The next one is a huge 5-star for me, and it's A Forest of Stars by Lindsay Hall, and it is absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to continue this book. And she is in this court, and she doesn't want to get found out that she is human and not Fae. So the king keeps looking at her and staring at her, so she ends up going through these trials, and it was, oh my goodness, so good. And it was such a fast read because I couldn't get through it fast enough. But if you like Fae fantasy romances, if you like the whole thought of, you know, her trying to keep her identity a secret and not be found out, and so the stakes are really high on that, definitely pick this book up. I think you would love it. And I think it's starting to get quite a bit of hype around the bookish community. So pick it up so you can definitely not get spoiled by anybody else. The next one is Broken Bonds by Jay Bree, and this book is another 5-star for me. It has gained so much traction over the past few months by everyone in the bookish community. People are just devouring these books as quick as they possibly can, and it is a bully romance. It is about our main character who has something tragic happen. She runs away from her bonded, and they find her like 5 years later. They drag her back, and it's a bully romance, but it's not over the top bully. They're just hurt. They feel like she betrayed them, and the spice is good. The sex is good. The story is amazing. I will be continuing on with this series. I am just itching to get through my annual enrollment period so I can pick this next book up. The final one in this series is Untainted by Lillian T. James. I have a version here from the bookish box, but this book I gave 2 stars. I did not like it like I thought I would, because look how beautiful this is. Oh, it's so gorgeous. But anyway, this book, the story wasn't even good. It wasn't even fleshed out. I feel like the biggest focal point on this book was the sex. And I mean, I understand we all like a smutty, spicy read like anybody else. And, there are people out there that don't, but the majority of us do, whether we admit it or not. However, this book, I wrote down 2 stars only because I enjoyed the smut enough to give it the 1 extra star, because I was going to give it only 1 star. So basically, she's being stalked. She has these abilities that could help this, other community on this island. So he ends up like taking her back to this island or whatever to help them, and it is just basically sex. And the romance I didn't feel like was very connected. I didn't feel like, you could get behind the story and the plot and the characters. There was a whole lot of things wrong with it. So I feel like if it went through an editor, if it went through somebody that said cut this or add this in, it would be a lot better. So if you have been thinking about picking this up because you've heard all of the hype going around about it, definitely know going in that you have the chance of not liking it because of the story, because of the romance, because of it just being sex on a page. But if you really already know all of that and that's what you want out of this, you're going to enjoy this book. So that wrapped up those 20 books that I had read for November. And then after I got done with that and the big chunky book that I had, plus my busy time, I didn't really read a whole lot more like I wanted to. I did pick up this graphic novel, The Mirror Moon. It's a Nightmare Before Christmas graphic novel, and it is absolutely stunning. You just go on like a little mystery with Jack and Sally in Halloween Town, and you follow the characters, and it was really, really good. It gave me that much needed relief after reading all of these books and my stressful time at my job, where I could just come home, dive into Halloween Town, love my characters even more. So if you really like Nightmare Before Christmas and you want to continue on and, you know, see these characters again, you may want to pick up the graphic novels. It's not very long at all. I want to say it's only like maybe 60 pages or something. Just a quick read. The graphics are beautiful. The illustrations are just on par with everything. So that is all that I read in November. This video is extremely long, and I am so sorry for that. But if you have liked any of these books, if you have read any of them, please definitely comment below. Let me know what you think of them, or if you plan on reading any of them, I would love to know which books intrigued you the most that I had just talked about. Also, in my description, head on over to my Instagram. Follow me on there. You can talk to me about books there, as well as my Goodreads if you want to follow my reviews as well. But until next time, everyone, make sure that you like the video, subscribe, please stick around. You're going to love all the content that comes out, especially if we read the same books. You're definitely going to want to keep watching my channel. So until next time, everyone, I hope you have a great day. Bye!